Welcome to PhD with Woman on It, Hack the Future. My name is Beata Young, and today's PhD Positivity Hack Delivered will be by our guest, Madona Wambua. Today's topic, cracking the code, how to thrive in tech as a woman. Episode 152 starts here. Let me remind you, this is a grassroots community that focuses on women on IT, an inclusive forum of women in technology, startups, and female leaders who are supported by men as well. And I bring heart to that hustle because empathy is my mojo, and empathy is critical when you're cracking the code and know how to thrive in tech as a female. First, let me remind you what's been happening in the world of technology. Exciting news, everybody. Kudos to Elitsa Krumova, a B2B tech influencer, for winning the Best Tech Influencer 2024 awards last June 6th at the Global Women Leadership Conference and Awards Gala in Dubai. Congratulations to our former PhD guest and founder of the Perfect Pitch Group, Precious Williams, for being one of the top 3 finalists at the Woman Business Owner of the Year event held in Washington, D.C. And finally, cheers to Jibu Labs founder and CTO Madona Wambua for inspiring and empowering more women at DroidCon New York City as a member of the program committee. Yay! Now, let's go back to our topic, cracking the code. How to thrive in tech as a woman. Thinking about career change in your 30s or 40s or whatever age you are? The tech industry offers amazing opportunities, but is it right for you? In these live questions and answers, we are thrilled to welcome award-winning tech leader and Google developer expert Madona Wambua, founder and CTO of Jibu Labs. Madona will share actionable strategies to help you break into tech, overcome gender bias, and achieve work-life balance, whether you're a complete beginner or looking to take your career to the next level. This conversation is going to be packed with valuable insights, isn't it, Madonna? Let's go. So where are you joining us from today, Madonna?
I am joining from New York. And also, I just wanted to mention episode 152. Kudos. That's amazing. I applaud you.
Well, wasn't it episode 88 that we first met on this live stream, Positivity Hack Delivered, where you talked about your book and how to create the best Android applications?
Oh my goodness, that is so true. Yeah. And now it's been a year, and I think I've sold so many copies, and I just appreciate the community. And it has a 4.5 rating, which is amazing too. So, wow, look at that. We've come so far.
We've come so far, and one baby later, right? Because
I
you're
know that's so funny, but so true. Yep.
yeah, but I like the way you're pacing yourself.
Yeah.
One book in 1 year and baby delivering next year.
I
That's the way
know.
to do it. It's so
I know.
organized.
You think so? Thank you. Yeah. I th- it was not planned, but I've always wanted definitely to have another baby. And my boys have been asking because I have 2 boys. And now that they will get a sister, it's been like the house is in total pinkish.
Oh,
I
fabulous.
know. It's like I'm not saying she will love pink. She might not love it, but everybody in the house is like pink, 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 pink. Yeah, so it's fun.
Well, as we say, we shouldn't be biased. Maybe she will
Yeah,
prefer blue in the future, but now
exactly.
we're gonna ram it down into her throat. You've got to love pink.
Yes.
Which reminds me, Madonna, the story that my husband went one time in London next to
Mhm.
the Royal Opera House. There is this boutique shop with ballerinas outfits, and you can buy everything from
Mm,
ballerinas tutus to ballerinas
mhm,
shoes and so on. So he went there to buy shoes for our daughter,
mhm,
and he asked, do you have size 24?
mm.
And the shop assistant said, is she in pink stage or in
Oh,
black stage? So there you go.
there you go. Yeah, yeah. And also the other thing that's also very positive about this is that we mothers can do it. I mean, it doesn't mean that if we get kids, our careers got to stop. I know it's not easy, but hey, look, I've done it so far with 2 kids. I don't think adding one more will make me stop what I'm doing. So yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Nothing can stop us. And, it's so amazing because nobody gives us a title of
Hmm.
manager of logistics in the
Yes,
household, but we just definitely
exactly.
deserve that. And also,
Hmm.
which goes, and I'll stop myself soon,
Yeah.
which goes to all the marketers out there
Hmm.
who pitch to white blokes all the time
Yeah.
when they are trying to sell their cars, but who
Hmm.
is looking after picking up kids from school and delivering them to after
Hmm.
school activities and
Yeah.
all this stuff? It's women, and they are the
Hmm.
sole decision makers. About 78%
Yeah.
decision purchasing of a car in a
Yeah.
household belongs to a woman.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
enough of that stuff, let's
No, no. Before
go.
we actually leave that stuff, I
Yeah.
always like to mention this part because I think it's very crucial too. Because having spoken to many women, I think it's also okay to acknowledge that it's a choice too. People decide to choose. So whatever works for you. I always like to mention that. If you're the person who says, I don't think I want babies now, that's totally fine too. Don't be pressurized. I just wanted to mention that.
That's beautiful. Absolutely. Whatever you feel like
Hmm.
doing. And if you would like to have a partner in life, that's fine.
Yeah,
If you don't want to have a partner, if you don't want to work in tech, that's fine too.
exactly.
However,
Yeah,
let's focus on the exciting possibilities that
yeah,
are laying ahead if you consider career in
exactly.
technology. So, Madonna, your journey from software engineer to the founder and CTO of Jibu Labs
Yes.
is so inspiring. So, can you take us back to the beginning?
Yeah.
What first sparked your interest in technology, and how did you navigate your path to where you are today?
Ah, pretty cool. I know I'm going to sound like a broken record here because I've said this before in this particular podcast. But for the new audience, for anybody doesn't also know me, is that my path to software didn't just start because I loved software or I knew what software was to be in the beginning. So it was more of a curiosity of just me seeing planes and just wondering how they were made and just trying to think who made that? The same way as I got a computer and I started wondering who made the computers? How is it working? The same thing with the TV too. I've always been curious my entire life. Now, there's this channel called the DSW. I don't know if they stopped showing it, and it showed a lot of how things were made from from manufacturing to big industry, and I watched it all the time. I was very religiously as a kid watching that station, and I was fascinated all the time just seeing how people would make so much cool stuff, and I was like, what do you need to be to actually do this? So I ended up doing mobile, just to summarize, because I got a phone. So when I was given a phone, I know many of the new Gen Zers or the new generation wouldn't know what a Nokia 3310 is, but that was the first phone that I was gifted by my father. And it had a snake game. And to me, I thought the snake game was so good too. Like, okay, first of all, I wondered who made the phone, wow, there's so smart people out there. Why can't I be one of them? So that always lingered in my mind. And then when I got the phone, I was like, hold on. Who made this snake game? Can I make it? And that's how I ended up in mobile because I learned actually there's something called software engineering that can help you build mobile apps and all that stuff. And then I went to school at Auburn, graduated, and now here I am 10, 13 years later, still in software, doing the same thing. As for founding my company, that came after having worked in the industry for long, And when I got acknowledged by Google as an expert, as an Android expert, me being out there speaking at conferences, I ended up deciding, because people would reach out to me, Madonna, how can I do this? How can I do this? Can you offer this service? And I thought, why not create a consulting firm where I can actually use my consulting firm to help people? I've worked with big organizations here in New York and also in Cincinnati, and now I'm building a platform for e-commerce, and my team is doing that. So it's been an amazing journey. So it founding my company was more inspired by what I was doing as an expert in Android, that I decided, you know what, I need to consolidate these resources and just create a team and also build some project that always wanted to build, like some set of projects. So I have two new things coming up soon. So I'm pretty excited. I know I can't mention now until we validate the process and then launch it to the world. And it's been an amazing journey.
That's really interesting because it came kind of as a byproduct of you being amazing developer and people's need. So
Mm,
just like in the robots Disney Pixar movie, you see a need and you feel a
yes.
need.
Yeah.
Now, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced in your career and how did you overcome them?
Wow, yeah, that's a very good question. And I feel like I've also been asked this question a couple of times, and I've never changed my answer because it's always been the same. I think being a software engineer, it's not easy, especially in a different world. And I feel like to me, the biggest issue that I encountered was that English is not my first language. I speak Swahili. I mean, I speak six languages in total, but the most biggest one being I know Swahili, I know my mother tongue, which is my tribal language, and also I speak English. But at work, most of the time, the thing that I struggled the most with was kind of like relaying myself in a way that I felt comfortable. So, for instance, I can just give a simple example. For instance, in software engineering, we have terms like, let's say, variable, mutability, and immutability. So those things don't come to me naturally because I really don't know what those things are. I mean, I went to school, definitely studied them, but they don't just come as the way, let's say, my mother tongue would come immediately. So I struggle a lot with that. And I feel like to me, the one thing that at work, I feel like most people need to be very welcoming is kind of like just understanding that, hey, maybe this person does not know or does not understand what that means, and just being welcoming. But the biggest challenge that I experienced at work, most of it was, first of all, you identifying as the only black person, or you identifying as the only mother, or the only female, which is a narrative that we've had in so many places. And that's why, actually, when things like DEI now getting scrapped or getting killed, it's pretty sad, because I don't think DEI meant only hiring specific people. No, it meant a lot. And I feel like that is what has been missed, especially now when I see big companies like Microsoft too saying they're getting rid or scaling down. And I'm like, clearly they didn't know what it meant, or maybe people had different definition, because my definition was teaching people even at work what it actually means to be accepting to the people that are not like you or will not speak the same language as you. So I don't know,
Mm.
it's pretty
Well,
tough.
it is tough, Madonna, and also this expectation of because you can communicate in English, that means you know everything. Like you
Yeah,
answer all the questions and you get it, rather than clarifying. But isn't
yeah,
it like a double-edged sword?
yeah.
You should actually ask more questions, even if it makes you feel stupid.
Yes, now that is such a great point that you say it, that we should ask more question, but you will be shocked that in my first time working, I think heard that a lot from people, like, hey, ask questions. It means you're curious. But I did that. I asked a lot of questions like, hey, how can I do this? How can I do that? But I learned the culture here is, I mean, not here to be specific, but I feel like the culture of software engineering is pretty different, because everybody is trying to complete their work, either get promoted or get moved to the next step. Because I remember on my review, getting a review that I ask a lot of questions. And I think to me that was very shocking because it was a very vague review, but it also killed my mood because I realized I started wondering, am I really bothering this person or these people when I ask them questions? Because I thought asking questions was the right way to go. So from then I stopped asking questions. No, it's so tough. So I stopped. That's not how I operate myself because I'm okay. I mean, I feel like every developer, especially junior developers, they're supposed to ask questions, and that's okay. But for me, I learned that I think you can't ask everybody question. Now, I have to also say this is isolated for sure. It's not on all the places I've worked because it's okay to ask question. I mean, because if you don't know, you don't know. You can only Google and try to understand. But if it's a code base that's very new to you, it's okay to ask questions. So after that review, it really killed my mood and I stopped asking. I mean, it might make you move slower a little bit when you're coding because the problems you're solving sometimes are bangers and they're not as easy as they seem. But hey, over time I grew, I became strong. I stopped asking questions, but at least now I tell people ask questions, but just be cautious who you're asking because you might get it on the review that you ask many questions.
Mm, well, I think it really springs to mind the
Yeah.
Catalyst review,
Mm,
which I'm going to post in a second because this review really shows us
mhm.
how we are sometimes biased. So
Yeah.
basically, Catalyst discovered that women can't win. It's a double bind dilemma.
Yeah.
So the double bind dilemma for women in leadership shows that when women are too strong, like as strong as a leader, they are
Mhm.
perceived as too strong, combative, abrasive. Whereas if they are too soft in their leadership approach, they are being perceived as too weak, not strong
Yes.
enough as a
Oh
leader,
my goodness.
not a good role model.
Mhm.
So I think we need to break that barrier of
Mhm.
seeing or perceiving women who ask too many questions and actually embrace it. I mean, the
Yeah.
culture should allow in a company, allow as many questions as possible because if you're curious,
Mhm.
you will get places.
And remember the curiosity. So I'm a curious person, you know. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so I wanted to know, and I thought I was doing the right thing. So it's pretty tough, and that's what I'm saying. I think being a junior developer is not easy, but with time the more you build your strength, the more you learn that, hey, it's actually easier now to get it. So I would say if you're in the similar situation, don't give up. Just find the right channels. And again, just going back to DEI, I feel like to me, part of DEI should also include things like this where we have channels where people learn. I mean, think about it. Back in the days, companies like GE, I mean, they would, IBM, they would invest on junior developers and teach them and grow them. But right now, I feel like the culture is more higher, senior, senior, senior. Well, let's move fast. Everybody's trying to make that money, which is pretty tough.
It is pretty tough, but since we've seen it
Yeah.
in real life, Madonna, I think we had the excitement of
Yeah.
meeting some investors and also meeting Lynn Martin, the
Hmm.
president of New York Stock Exchange. And we've
Yes.
seen how many companies are driven by profit,
Yeah.
which is really a very difficult situation because obviously whoever is investing in a company, they want to see bigger profits. So sometimes
Exactly.
some people lose jobs on the
Hmm.
way because you have to move fast,
Fast.
especially
Exactly.
in technology fields, in
Yes.
startup world.
Hmm. Yep.
Now, but let's go back to our topic.
Hmm.
So you mentioned that you were told that you asked too many questions. Did you try to establish something like a middle ground and say, why do you think I ask too many questions? Is it bad or good? It shouldn't it be a
Yes.
good thing to ask many questions? Did you
Yeah.
try,
Mhm.
or you just changed because you didn't want to be perceived as somebody who's asking too many questions?
That's also a great question. I like the topic cracking the code, how to thrive in tech as a woman, because this is part of it, right? Trying to thrive in tech. And this is kind of part of also things that you'll experience without somebody telling you exactly how it goes inside. So when I was given that review, the first thing that I actually said is I apologized. I know the first thing that I did was apologize. And this is a honest reaction. That's what I said. I said, wow, I did not know I was doing that. So please tell them I'm sorry that I asked them a lot of questions. And then promised myself that, hey, I will do better. I'll ensure that I don't ask as many questions and just ensure that I'll keep doing the research more and continue growing my skills. Because remember, I was still a junior developer getting to start to build particular softwares and I didn't know how the system worked. So I was trying to also learn the ecosystem. Now, something that I also learned from that when I spent more time is that I learned that in software it's more about following patterns. So I started going back to the code and looking at the patterns and then I would look at, okay, somebody built this following this pattern. Can I do the same? Can I follow the same pattern and see if I'm able to build and move faster? And then I realized that helped too. So I took an action, I apologized, and then I said, okay, hopefully it doesn't come back. And I think that's the only review that I got that ever was shocking to me. From that, my reviews have always been great.
Kudos to you. Well, I think it's feedback,
Yeah.
especially the first time you have to face it, is so difficult, especially for
Hmm.
women, because
Yeah.
it's not a water of a duck feather. It is really painful to hear. But
It was painful actually. Sorry to cut you
mm,
off. It's because I thought I heard everywhere ask questions, ask questions. I think I felt like I was misled because everybody would be like, ask question. Every podcast I would listen to, they would say, ask questions. And I'm like, okay. I mean, yeah.
there you go. Well, maybe there is another quote that we like to use.
Hmm.
There is some insanity deal here. If you ask the same questions over and over and expecting different results, that's not the way to go. So
Yep.
definitely ask questions and also learn from them.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you managed to move it past you and you can talk about it as an anecdote. However, definitely asking questions is the way to go.
Yeah.
Don't be threatened by asking questions.
Yes.
It's a good thing.
It is a good
Anyway, Anyway, Madonna, we have some lovely audience listening to us. Obviously, there is some of your cohort,
thing.
which is so good to see. And we have got Olga Vasina. Great to see you back live, Beata. What a fantastic show last week at 9C2. Welcome, Madonna, says Olga. Lavanya Thomas says Bill and Melinda Gates Agriculture Innovations Gate AG1. I'm not sure where it relates to. Maybe you have more insight, Madonna.
No, I don't have insights on that, but maybe that's a resource. So I'm always open to people sending more resources for women in tech.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Lavanya, if you would like to explain what is this research or resource we can use, that would be really, really useful. And thank you so much for leaving comments because algorithms are funny little minions that like to see more comments from our community. And
Hmm.
the more comments we can give, the more power to all of us. And Sonic Panther 55 says, love it. We love it too. Thank you so much. Anyway, let's go back to our core question. For many women
Yes.
thinking about a career change
Hmm.
later in life, the tech industry can seem a bit intimidating. What
Yeah.
advice would you give to someone in their 30s or 40s who is considering making the leap into tech after, quite a successful career in different areas?
Wow, this is so good and passionate to me because this is something that I'm actually doing currently with my mentee. So she's somebody who's transitioning from a different career. She's also in her late 30s. So she's really interested in coming to tech. So one of the things, so what I'm going to give is tips of what we've created so far. So we've created this particular document where we went through careers in tech. So where we wrote down product management, project management, UI, UX, cybersecurity, software engineering, DevOps. And in each of those particular categories and other more. So in each and every particular categories, what we've done is that highlighted in bullet points what each role does. And then I told her, hey, spend your time, try to think about which exactly role do you think you would fit into. Now, even though we wrote all that, I told her in my career, specialized or spent more time in the software engineering. So I gave her the goods and the don'ts of software engineering and how it might be different to, let's say, UI UX designing, or let's say cybersecurity or product management or many others. Technical project management too, because there's so many take adjustments that you can really join as a somebody transitioning. So it's just knowing which one really, really works for you. Now, how do you know which one really works for you? The doc that I just spoke about that we created is that she went through them and just looked at each and every category and decided, I think here I can thrive based on A, B, C, D. Maybe I like to speak to people that's developer relations. So maybe I can do that. And how can I get into those? Give resources to those. Now, and then maybe the other one, she might say, maybe I think I might align better with cybersecurity. So looking into what are people in cybersecurity doing? Are they coding? Are they concentrating more on security and all the stuff that's needed? Maybe you need a certification, all that cool stuff. So those are ways to know how you might want to transition from a different career to a tech career, but also understanding what you really want is very vital. And this is why it can be pretty tough to really move from your previous career to a new one without knowing how the dynamics work. So spend that time, do the research, and make sure that you will really enjoy. Because for me, software was more about curiosity, and it was more about me loving just the snake game and decided this is what I want to build. Like I want to build apps or things that will work on the phone because that's the nearest one that I could achieve. So I feel like definitely ensure you really, really are passionate about what you want to do, because you don't want to be in that role after maybe 2 years and you're like, I don't like it anymore. So yes, it has to be driven by passion also, and the curiosity too in it. Yeah, it really works. I think those are the tips I would add, because I know it's not a one
Mm.
size fits all. It's going to be very, very different for everybody, because I've also seen many people struggling saying, I went to a boot camp, but I cannot land a job. So I have to go back to my previous job because I'm not getting a job. So it's not easy. So instead of jumping into a boot camp directly, I would definitely advise anybody who wants to transition to first write that particular document, write them down, look at each role and responsibilities. Is this something you want to do for the rest of, let's say, your life or for 5 years? And if you feel like it's something you will want to do, let's say developer relation or software engineering or DevOps or product or UI UX, if it's, or cybersecurity and other more, if it's something that you would want to do, put a green on that one. And then now start finding resources into those. And then now apply. Now, finally, I want to mention that working with the community is much easier. So once you identify what you want, find that community that already does that and find people to learn with, and it becomes fun and you will love it.
Mm. So, apart from curiosity, what are other skills or qualities that you believe are particularly valuable for newcomers in technology?
Oh, wow, that's a good one. I think curiosity is one of them, but definitely I know this is okay. Maybe this is just for me, but perseverance is very important too. As I've mentioned, this is you're entering into different territories. People who maybe went to school and studied this particular stuff, and maybe you went to a boot camp or have a different degree, or maybe want to go back to school and get a different degree. So having perseverance will really help a lot, because that means you're able to persevere even through hard times, because hard times will come. Software, as Beata has mentioned, there are companies, especially startups, where they move very fast and they are reporting to investors and they need to keep moving. So what that means is that the work-life balance is not going to be as easy as, let's say, a company that's laid back, already successful, or already they're not in the rush. But right now, when you think about it with the AI, everybody is panic. I mean, I don't want to say everybody is panicking, but there's a lot of traction and talks about AI. So, and people are more worried like, will my job be there in the future or not? So with all that being involved, perseverance will really be important, because that is what's going to help you stay in the field and know that even though we have AI, I'll still have a job because I'm able to either transition or move faster to something new. Because, for instance, myself, even though I've worked as a mobile developer for the longest, I've also touched web development, backend development, API development, and other cool stuff.
Mm. So, apart from perseverance, the ability to ask questions, I would say what is also important is being flexible
Yes.
and adaptive to change.
Yes.
Because AI is like a broken work record. You may hear it over and over from this source and that source, but
Hmm.
really the value you can bring.
Hmm.
You've got brain in your head, you have feet in your on your legs. You can
Hmm.
choose any direction you choose, and this is Dr. Seuss badly quoted by me.
Hmm.
However, it is time for some mentions. Winnie Matthew says Madonna is inspiring. Thank you so much for joining the show and listening to us. And Kenya Nuzi is
Hmm.
also here. Thank you so much. It's lovely to hear voices from all over the world, I presume, because I can definitely see some exciting logos here. So let's go to being advocate for community support.
Yeah.
And it has been a major thing in your work. How has being
Yes.
part of supportive community impacted your career growth? And what advice do you have for women looking to build their own networks?
Yeah, I think I would say, especially with what I just mentioned previously, and I also love the fact that you mentioned adaptive, because that's what I mentioned in a way where you're able to move fast and just accept what's happening. Communities have been very, very important, because I remember back in the days, like I mentioned, after I got the feedback of I asked many questions, I decided to just find a community. I started looking into, wait, do other women actually experience the same? I was curious, like, hey, am I the only one getting this? Or, I mean, I don't want to say I was salty, but I really wanted to find out if other women experience the same. So I found my community in Women Who Code. It's so sad that they closed down the organization, so I'm pretty heartbroken about that. But my first community that I found was through Women Who Code. Now, what I decided to do with Women Who Code is that I knew the thing of teaching makes you learn better and more and become good. So what I decided to do was, through Women Who Code, I would do webinars where I would teach mobile development. And what I would do is that I would pick small, simple applications, and then I would have a meeting with other women, and then we would create this particular program where I would build the app with them and we'll build together. And that really helped me with my career. So, community really does help in such an amazing way. That's why, again, I'm just going to mention, when they closed down, it was really heartbreaking, because they really pulled me up when I needed them the most. So I would say, I know there are other more, like for instance, I'm now part of Women Tech Makers Ambassador, Women Tech International, and there are other more now that are still there. So I would say, if you find a community, especially if you're joining the tech or transitioning into tech, it will really be helpful to begin in earlier, just understanding what they're doing, participating, joining them when, let's say, they have meetings and regular meetings, just to learn from other women, because the support system is what matters. Because every time I would go to the meetings, as I do the webinars, we would talk about work a little bit, and I would ask, hey, how's your work as a software engineer at this company? Many of them were international, definitely, and most, not many local, but I would ask, how is the situation, or how is your environment at work? And I would hear similar stories. And then I started thinking, oh, so I am not alone. So it's something that we women encounter. So, again, going back to the topic of this particular presentation and podcast, how to thrive in tech as a woman, please find that community. It's part of how you thrive in tech as a woman, because the community really does support.
The community really does support. So do we support one Madonna and many amazing women. And here is a great quotation I would like to remind those of you who watched our previous shows. Have already we have already met with Kelly Hoey, who said about networks,
Mhm,
your network has a network. So
mhm,
it's definitely the way you tap into your network, the way
mhm.
you ask somebody for help. Be very specific and intentional, and also help others, because there is so much joy you
Mhm.
can have when you help others.
Yeah,
Let's go, Madonna, into I think it's a very difficult question,
yeah.
or the very difficult task, a life work balance. And you nailed it down, sister. We know that you've got amazing boys, and
Oh.
you're helping their career, future career, making them career proof, AI proof, however you call it.
That's funny.
How do you keep it this magic happen? Your life seems like a dream.
That. Okay, so there's no way my life is like a dream. I mean, okay, I do not complain. The one thing that I want to mention is that I think it's very durable. I think the notion, and I've had this many times, especially on podcasts, where because I do listen to podcasts and I listen and I read books too, and I've heard a lot of people complaining about how difficult it is. Not complaining. Complaining is not the right word. I tend to be wiser and choose my words nicely these days because I think complaining is not the word. So what I would say is that I think you have to really look at what is killing your productivity. Now, let me explain. So, to balance everything, it's not easy. I definitely have how many hours in a day? I'm going to say at max, let's say 8 hours. Now, within the 8 hours, I need to know what I'm doing within the day. Now, I have to admit, if it's not on my calendar, I'll forget, even if it's my child's event. So every event, it has to be on my calendar. I tell the teacher like in advance, hey, do we have a calendar invite for this so that I don't forget? So I have to mention the way I've been able to juggle this is just knowing where my productivity lies and knowing what might take it away and just improving on those. For instance, again, I mentor a lot, and I remember meeting this one particular student, and I asked her, she told me, Madonna, how are you able to have a family, do the talks, and also write a book? And the other things that I do. And I asked her, number one, like how long do you spend on your phone? And she's so we looked, and of course nobody knows her, so she's okay. But when we looked, it was around 9 hours a day. Now when we looked at that, she was shocked too, because she's never thought about it like that, like how long she's actually on her phone. And when we talked about that, we mentioned a few things, like that amount of time that you're spending on your phone is part of taking out the time that you might be doing something productive or completing something. And then we looked at other days, and there were days where she would spend more than 12 hours or 16 hours. And I was like, girl, do you sleep? So she laughed about it. But to me, I told her my maximum, which is maybe going to the phone and saying hi to my mom or just looking at few things. At most, from Monday to Saturday, I spend 2 hours, 3 hours the max. Because I mean, if you spend so much time scrolling, let's see, maybe it's TikTok or Instagram or Twitter, what are you looking for? There's nothing. It's just going to be more distractive stuff, but it's taking away your time. So time management has really been very effective for me. And I know this is different for everybody because everybody has different things, but how you manage your time really is the answer here, is the key. Just find what's taking away your productivity, what is taking away your time, cut down on those, and it will be easy.
Well, I think you had, you really nailed it down, because time management is critical, but
Yeah.
also, if you want to keep the life work balance,
Mhm.
the moment you start scrolling, your brain is still working.
Yep.
You treat it as relaxing, but really your brain is being
Mm-hmm.
manipulated by AI,
Uh-huh.
machine
But
learning, that just all the algorithms that just jump at you, and it's like another. And like, look at Madonna, she was watching DSW channel. So, and you're watching so satisfying, just some nails tapping on the table, showing how satisfying it is to cut. I don't know what it is. Some
exactly.
crunchy something, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's so weird because that's the way the algorithm are wired right now, right? Where you start looking at one thing, let's say you saw, especially I think I've heard the TikTok algorithm does this, where you've seen a video on a story on someone, and then they will immediately suggest a video of a follow up of what you saw so that you will not leave the app. So you might end up spending like 2 or 3 hours in one video of the same story. So you gotta be wise, people. They're just trying to take your
Absolutely.
time.
Absolutely, because here is a great quotation:
Mhm.
women no longer have "if I can" mindset. Now it's
Yeah,
more about how I can be in tech, start something in tech, fund something in tech.
yeah.
That shift is exciting. And it happened because we created a network where we showed daily that
Hmm.
women are innovating.
Yeah.
Shela Rose Charania said, so
Hmm.
women, remember, stop scrolling, be intentional about your time.
Yep.
Time management is critical because it just trickles down tick tock,
TikTok. Yeah.
the moment you open that TikTok.
Yeah, that's a very good one. And lastly, I know I've said this before, but lastly, I just want to mention ask yourself, what are you looking for when you're scrolling? You'll find there's nothing unless you're shopping.
Absolutely. Well, let's not start on that because the last time I did that, there was another scarf from Hermes, a shop that was purchased, but I was tempted. And there is another story, Madonna, I have to share with you because my husband is a cheeky one. Okay,
Yeah.
as we were on our way back from New York to the airport, and we are just I'm sitting and watching the world go by because it sounds shocking, but
Yeah.
nearly 50 years old, but I've
Mhm.
never been to New York. So
Wow.
there you go. As we
Mhm.
were sitting in a taxi, I'm watching the world go by, and my husband goes, "Oh, darling, look, it's Temptation Island." And I was like, "Oh, is it?" And well, it was just a big shopping mall.
Oh, I like that.
There you go. The truth, the sad thing is, in New York, you've got so many temptation islands,
Yes, I know,
don't
but
you?
I'm wise. It's the same thing. Do I really need it? I think that's the question I ask myself a lot. I don't want to be that impulsive spender because I'm like, do I really need it? I mean, back in the days, yeah, when I got my first job, I have to admit, though, I went and bought a 3,000 bag. I
Yay!
regretted it, though. I was like, is
Oh
it worth
no.
it? But
One life, no regrets, Madonna. Remember.
YOLO.
YOLO, absolutely. Well, speaking of YOLO, I POV'd in Patrick's opinion. The man who
Hmm.
invented Temptation Island just says, "Good to see you again, Madonna." Very
What?
interesting discussion, ladies. There you go. And
Oh
then we have a comment from Real Word
my
who
God.
sends us emoji of hearts,
Oh,
and we have got Kevo also lots of hearts, eye
oh.
popping, and we've got Samuel Musau. Thank you so much. And we have a question from Winnie
Mhm.
Mutheo. At what point in your career do you know
You
you
need
need a mentor?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so I think to be fair, I would say if I was assigned a mentor in the beginning of my career when I was a junior developer, I feel like I would have been more successful. I mean, I do not say it did not help. I mean, I'm not saying that either way I would not be successful, but I feel like I would be more successful to where maybe the mentor would have guided me through the asking of questions and also knowing what kind of questions to ask. Because, mind you, when I asked those many questions, because I didn't know what to do, right? And I was trying to find a solution to a problem that I didn't know. So, a mentor here would have really, really helped me, like just navigating this particular problem or situation. So I think it's okay to have a mentor in the beginning of your career to walk with you as you grow in your career. Now, as you also grow in your career, there's something that's called a sponsor, and the sponsor becomes where, especially you want to become somebody big in your organization, you will definitely need those. So that mentor can still act as your sponsor if they're people that are recognized or appreciated in their company. So I think here the right answer for me, based on my opinion, would be earlier on is okay, and as you move in your career too, change mentors too. It's okay.
It's absolutely okay because
Yeah.
sometimes you feel the need for some more feedback or
Yeah.
maybe a sounding ground. So there is never too late, never too early.
Yeah.
I would definitely encourage everybody to ask for uh, being a mentor because
Yeah.
you can definitely, hear yes. And if
Hmm.
you hear no, your
Yeah.
career is not going to end up there.
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
Okay, we have Precious Williams who says hello. Hey, 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 woman on it. Thank you so much. Precious, thank you so much for being so precious and encouraging us women and being a role model you are. Thank you.
Hmm.
So, coming as the founder of Jibu Labs, what
Hmm.
advice do you give to aspiring female entrepreneurs in tech who want to start their own companies? Would they have to start being ambassadors for women in tech, like women tech makers, or is there a different route you would recommend?
Ah, yeah, that's a good one. So first, I would say if they're not technical founders, just to find a reliable CTO or somebody they can trust, because tech can really get convoluted, especially with the so many softwares out there. And if you don't know how they operate, it might be tough because making those decisions very like making those vital decisions, like if you're consulting, how do you build for this particular client that wants, let's say, abcd, how do you do that? So understanding or getting somebody that understands that is very vital. Now, if you're a technical founder, then I think what you need is definitely a community. I think this one plays a very big role, because for me to validate the notion that I could actually consult, I got a job from a community member. So she reached out to me. She said, Madonna, our team needs a rebrand and we don't know where to go. Can we trust your company? Can we start with you? And I said, yeah, let give us the chance. And we not lobbied, but we bid it and won the bid. And we built a website, and it's a community of over 300 women in Cincinnati, in Pennsylvania, and other areas. And I was like, in Cleveland too. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is a big project that we got as we launched our my own company. So I was so excited. So first, you have to find that network, which is the community. It really helps a lot because finding clients is not as easy. Second, if you're not a technical founder, find somebody that you can really trust to build the software, because moving fast also in a software world, let's say for instance it's a startup that you're trying to build, if you don't find reliable teams, you might take so long and burn a lot of money in the beginning without even knowing you're burning a lot of money. So finding people you can trust and also being a good listener. I've experienced issues where tech people who are not technical founders but they have the money, they don't listen, and it ends up being bad because you burn a lot of money without knowing over the years, as compared to just listening to advice from your people and moving fast and them helping you.
Mm.
Yeah, so to sum it up, just to make sure I didn't confuse anybody, is number one, if you're not the technical founder, find somebody that you can trust, a CTO you can trust. If you're a technical founder, just leverage the community, because this means you're trying to consult, or you're trying to, or if you're building your own startup, just find people that you can trust and then start distributing to the people that you trust in the community.
And for those already in the tech industry looking to take their careers to the next level, what
Mhm,
strategies you believe are most successful for somebody who wants to develop leadership skills?
mhm. Yeah, a couple of things for this one is definitely finding those sponsors, as I mentioned before, because let's say you're an IC, which is an individual contributor, and you want to become, let's say, a manager one day. It just doesn't happen if you're not speaking to people in your company. So you need definitely to reach out to the sponsor, and this sponsor might be maybe your manager. You just showcasing the work you're doing. For instance, your reviews. This is something that I've mentioned before too. Have a brag dog. It's okay. Brag about the things that you've done over the years and why you think you should be promoted. You should be maybe a manager or a lead, or let's say somebody even higher. So building that is very important, and then finding that sponsor, and that sponsor might be your manager or the people around you that are more influential, and that will get you moving. Now, there's also a book that I like to suggest, because this is from a woman I've met in person, I've worked with, which is Fast Tracking into Leadership by Shalmina Abji Babai. It's an amazing book. So I would highly recommend, if you really want to move into leadership, get that book, and it's amazing. It has all those tips that I'm talking about, because I feel like I stole them from there.
Ah,
I know.
beautiful, beautiful. Well, I'm sure she's not, she's not upset about that because you're promoting her book.
I know. No, it's
Fabulous.
amazing.
Yay! So,
Yeah.
what do you see as the biggest opportunities and challenges for women in tech over the next decade? How can women prepare themselves for the future of this industry without even mentioning the thing that starts with A?
Oh, yeah. I know. Well, I think there's already a big challenge happening already. I feel like DEI, first of all, I mean, I think it's now been, I don't know what to say about it anymore, because I feel like it's not about it being killed, but it's being turned into something different, which it shouldn't be. But I feel like, hey, we always come back. I like to see light at the end of the tunnel all the time. So I feel like it will definitely come back, and people will, even if it will have a different terminology, will need it, because we need more women in tech. And this is why. I mean, think about it. Not only do we need women in tech in the future, we need them now, because just recently a friend of mine was telling me about the I'm gonna give a very interesting example. So the watches, I know many people might not know this, but the watches and many other things, they were not tested on women, like when they were being built. Like, that was not in mind. Can you imagine that? So that should alarm you to know that definitely we need more women in tech. Now, how we thrive in the future is us not giving up, and us being there and going for those jobs. Now, I've seen this notion that, which I think is true, because I've done it myself, where you see a role, and then instead of applying, we're like, oh my God, I don't think I'm qualified, especially when women do that. Hopefully, we can stop that too. Maybe I mean, I'm not speaking for all women, but I know I've done that myself. As compared to men, when they see the role, they're like, I'm not qualified, but I will apply to this job. So we need that so that we can continue thriving and continue being in this particular field. And lastly, is also teaching our kids about importance of supporting women. For instance, whenever I go to my conferences, of course I know they laugh about it, because they're happy because they get to travel with me, but also they're learning the importance of supporting their mom, and what impact it has when they see me speaking out there about tech. And then in the future, if they decide to become, let's say, tech leaders, they will see the need of ensuring that women are included. So we women have the power to do that. Bring your kids whenever you're going to the speaks, show them what you do, tell them the importance of having women in this field. Because again, my son, she met the VP of New York Times, and she told him about the story, because that's when I learned about the story too. And I was like, wow. So my son was so shocked, like, really? He was like, really? They didn't do that for women? And then he was so sad. So,
Mm.
yeah.
There you go. Now, as we are heading to the end of the show, Madonna, I know that you are not a big person that believes in life lesson quote.
Yeah.
Last time you told me that you're a firm believer, and has your life lesson quote changed since last time we talked?
Yeah, I feel like no sisters left behind. We're not leaving any sister behind now. So,
Uh-huh.
yeah, no sisters left behind. I don't know who said that quote, because I tried to find who said that quote, but it's just been with me. So,
Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, no sisters left behind in this
Yeah.
episode and
Yeah.
beyond this episode, because definitely we could feel the power of women when we last met
Mhm.
at the New York Stock Exchange, when we had a selfie made in front of the fearless girl who
Yes.
is making strides for many generations to come.
Mm.
Because the biggest problems are shared problems, the
Yeah.
ones that nobody owns but everybody is affected by. And
Mhm.
the fact that only 50% of the population is left behind is not catered for. And as you said, there are some products that are not
Yeah.
so customized for females, especially in technology. It's very
Mhm.
visible. We have face recognition that doesn't
Yes.
recognize female faces. The darkest the skin color, the worse the effects are,
Yeah.
the worse the results are. The same comes with voices. The
Mhm.
more high pitched voice there is,
Yeah.
the less recognized they are. So we could go on, but really the golden rule is ask questions, tenacity, spend your time wisely, and you will succeed. And what is the number one book you can sit and think, oh, I wish I read it before I started my career?
Oh yeah, yeah, this is a pretty interesting one too, cuz I know it's funny, but I've always been a big fan of reading novels. So the first book that I actually read, I was given by my dad. It was called The Farm by John Grisham. And from that time, I fell in love with books. And right now, when I think about it, the first book that I would think I wish I read before I started my career was The Lean Startup. I know it's weird, but it's such an amazing book. So The Lean Startup is the answer. But I am a sucker for good novels. I still buy them up to now. I have a couple. Like I bought the Rooster Boy by John Grisham, and yeah, I think okay. I don't want to promote him more, but I love his books.
Well, if you manage your time wisely, you can have an old
Yeah,
novel here and there, because you don't spend time watching that TikTok video and binge watching satisfying videos. You spend your time wisely focusing on your career.
yeah.
So, Madonna, what new exciting projects that is awaiting you? Is there anything new that is looming we should pin our calendars to?
Yes. Oh my goodness. So I have two amazing projects that I'm working on, and I don't want to mention them because they're in a little bit of a stealth mode, but I'm super super excited to have them launch around early next year, around April. So my team is actively working on them. So once they launch, I will definitely be the first one to come back to you like, hey, they're out.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
that's exciting. So, Eleanor Roosevelt said that women are like tea bags. You never know our true strength until you put them in hot water. So, Madonna, how are you in hot water? How are you brewing?
Oh, so this is such a good one because I don't have to struggle thinking about this anymore because guess what? I got validated by my kids. So, my son the other day told me it came from nowhere. He said, Mom, why are you always calm? And I was like, wow, okay, should I be mad? That's the same way I responded. Like, should I be mad? Said, no, you're always calm, even when things are tough. I don't know what he means by things are tough. Or it's maybe when I'm trying to tell them they're right and they're wrong, and maybe I'm just calm all the time. But that's what I would say. In life, how are you in hot water? Calm. How are you brewing? Calm.
Calm,
And
me,
kind. But he
calm and
validated
kind.
me.
Oh, absolutely. These little nudges of information, feedback from kids who are as honest as they can.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And I was like, I should ask them, how about that?
There you go. There you go. How about that,
Oh,
people? Huh? Who's asking too many questions? Huh? Now? Who looks silly now?
I
Yeah,
know.
anyway, we have to run. We have to finish our show. I just wanted to say thank you so much for great comments today. We have two more comments waiting from Manduka Daniel, who says thank you for sharing. And Shantasia Green, thank you, Madonna. It's so lovely to see such a great support from community. Olga Vasina, Lavanya Thomas, Winnie Muthiu, Sonny Panther, Kena Yuzi, IPOVIT, Real World, Kevo Samuel, Musa Williams, Precious Williams, Daniel, Santasia Green. Thank you so much. And we are having a break after this show. Just at the end, I wanted to remind you, Sheryl Sandberg said the word female, when inserted in front of something, is always with a note of surprise. One day, there won't be female leaders. There will be just leaders.
Yeah.
Madonna, thank you so much for sharing your insights and experiences with us today. Your
Yeah.
work is not only transforming the digital landscape, but also paving the way for a more sustainable future. We are living here today totally inspired and ready to make our own positive impact. And that's it from episode 152 of the Positivity Hack Delivered World live stream. To stay updated and ensure you never miss Positivity Hack Delivered, tune on to notifications on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, whichever platform you like, and you will be notified once we go live. Thank you so much. As always, our positivity quote comes from Positive Thinking Only and goes, look for something positive in each day, even if some days you have to look a little harder. Today is your day to hug the future, hug the positivity you want. Good luck.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.